Good evening. I'd like to call the General Committee meeting to order. Would everyone please rise for the prayer and the pledge of allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to gather this evening and for the opportunity to do work on behalf of the children of this parish. Guide us in our decision making so that we may continue to put the needs of our students first, and help us to do the things necessary to continue to serve them and this community in a way that truly addresses their needs. These things we ask in your name.
Amen.
Amen. Mr. Rodriguez, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Ms. Bojan.
Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Ms. Harris?
Here.
Ms. Jackson?
Here.
Ms. Lee Bowman and Mr. Long are not with us. Ms. Lemoyne?
Here.
Ms. Dyson?
Here.
Ms. Rodney?
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
Mr. Warner?
Here.
And Ms. White?
Here. Thank you, Ms. Bojan. The first item on the agenda is the annual financial compliance audit for 2022-2023. Good evening, Mr. Fernandez.
Good evening. In your folders, you have our annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year 2022-2023. And we also have here today from Erickson Quintel, our auditors, our independent auditors, Mr. Jeremy Thibodeau and Mike Nakarada. And they're here to tell you the results of that audit, which they recently completed. So I'm going to just turn it over to Jeremy.
Thank you, sir. So Mike is passing around the little presentation that we have. We're going to go through numbers at an extremely high level with it very quickly, but then we also have a lot of reporting out that we have to do to y'all as required by our standards that we want to make sure that we cover. So as you flip through, a little disclaimer, please read the presentation in accordance with and in conjunction with the audit report that you have in front of you, as the information is derived from that. So if you turn to what is the second slide, that'll start our audit scope and conclusion of the engagements. So we're issuing an opinion on the June 30th, 2023 financial statements. We are issuing an unmodified opinion dated as of November 8th, 2023. So that means that in our opinion, the financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. We also conducted our audit in accordance with government auditing standards, with the Louisiana Government Audit Guide and the Uniform Guidance over Federal Awards. And then we also performed 2 additional agreed upon procedures engagements that are required by the Department of Education and the Louisiana Legislative Auditor. From a number standpoint, just at a very high level, for your governmental funds, you ended the year at about $133.8 million in total assets. Of that, $90.3 million is sitting in cash and investments. So if you compare that with your overall liabilities of about $32.7 million, the organization itself is extremely liquid. You have a lot of flexibility with those funds. And we'll talk, so at the end of the year, you ended with about $101 million in fund balance. And we'll go into a little bit more detail of fund balance in a couple of slides. The next slide is just a high-level overview of your revenue and expenditures. So at the end of 23, you ended the year at about $123.7 million in total revenues. The majority of that is really concentrated into 4 revenue streams: the ad valorem, the sales taxes, the federal grants, and your minimum foundation funding from the state. Compare that to about $117 million in total expenditures, which the majority of that is concentrated in 2 main sources: instructional expenditures and your plant services for all the property that y'all maintain. So for the year, over positive change in fund balance of about $5.2 million. The next slide gives you the breakdown of your overall fund balance of $101 million. The one thing I want to point out here is there's 2 buckets here, the unassigned and assigned. that account for 86% of your fund balance, which means 86% of your fund balance is unrestricted. So again, that speaks to the liquidity in the organization to be able to ensure cash is available should revenue streams dry up, like a large contingency happens that you need funding for. You'll have a tremendous amount of flexibility there. One metric that we kind of look at is a goal to have about 5 to 10% of your unrestricted general fund balance be about 5 to 10% of your total revenues in your general fund. Y'all are at 22.6%. So y'all are well above that benchmark, which is actually it's a state benchmark as well. So again, extremely healthy, extremely liquid operations here. All right, the next several slides are all of our various reporting that we have to do. So again, we conducted audits in accordance with government auditing standards, so we had to consider your compliance with various laws, regulations, grant agreements, and whether or not they had a direct and material impact on the financials. Happy to report that we did not identify any deficiencies in internal controls or in financial reporting in accordance with government auditing standards, and you're going to get tired of hearing me say I did not identify anything, which is a good thing. The next slide, uniform guidance, which is the compliance audit over your federal programs, and then direct and material compliance requirements over your major federal programs. Again, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal controls throughout the course of performing those procedures. The BESI agreed upon procedures engagement was performed over statistical data accompanying the financial statements. Again, we did not find any exceptions in the course of performing those procedures. The legislative auditor statewide agreed upon procedures engagement was procedures performed over certain control and compliance aspects of the organization. Again, we did not find any exceptions in performing those procedures. The purpose of the next couple of slides are some required communications that we have to report out to the board. So the first slide is our responsibilities, that we are responsible for providing reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free of material misstatements. We exercise professional judgment and professional skepticism in performing our procedures. We obtain an understanding of internal control and we consider it, but we're not issuing an opinion on its effectiveness. We evaluate the appropriateness of the accounting policies and estimates used by management, and to conclude whether or not there are any events that cause us to have any concerns about whether the school board can continue as a going concern. So basically, is the school board in danger of going out of business, which it is not. This next slide, only thing I want to point out, significant audit matters, you want to see no's going all the way down, but you've got no's all the way down. Again, it's a very, very healthy, very clean audit. The last slide, just to point out a couple of things on this one. There are some significant estimates built into the financial statements over the collectability of receivables, the depreciation expense, and the valuation of the OPEB and pension liability, and that the required and other supplementary information is complete and appropriate. And so with that, I would like to thank this board in particular for allowing us the opportunity to conduct these engagements and giving us this responsibility over the financial statements, and to be a partner with you as y'all continue to qualify for these certifications that y'all have qualified for many years. And we'd like to thank Superintendent Boche and Mr. David Fernandez for all the hospitality that they extended to us and for their wonderful work in helping us get all the engagements done in a very timely manner. So with that, if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions at this time? I just want to say thank you. So basically, we have a clean audit, no exceptions, and so we appreciate your working so closely with Mr. Fernandez and Ms. Boche and our staff, and we thank you for a great report. Thank you very much. Any questions or other comments? Ms. Boche?
Yeah.
And I just want to, thank your auditing firm. I mean, we switched over. You're new with us this year, so we got a fresh look at all of our statements, all of our operations, our policies, our procedures, and we're happy to say that we obviously came out with an unqualified opinion in a very, very clean audit. And you guys were extremely professional, and we do appreciate the time and effort spent. And in this day and age, we older people like all of the in-person services, and now it seems a lot is shifting to online, like he's over there just shaking his head yes. So there's that push and tug of let's come in person and do this instead of uploading all of our statements and such. So we had a very happy balance with that. So we appreciate the time and the effort. And sometimes it seems overwhelming to our staff as we sit there and have to produce all these documents. But as far as then the public is concerned, they know that with even a new auditing firm coming in, we again had an unqualified opinion and a clean audit with no findings, no adjustments, and no recommendations for changes and, safeguards for internal controls and such. So we appreciate your efforts, and we're very happy with the outcome.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you again for coming tonight and presenting that audit. And thank you, Mr. Fernandez. Okay, next item is an education item. Mr. Warner.
Thank you, Mrs. Dysart. Item 3.1 is the 2024-2025 school calendar. Hello, Ms. Lozada, how are you?
Good evening, everyone. It's that time of year again. We're doing the employee calendar voting, and I did want to thank Ms. Andy Robinson for all of her work on the calendar committee. And we did have a committee meeting November 6th, and the employees are going to vote all the way through this Friday. And I'll present the results to you at the November 28th meeting. And we have 4 options, and I want to go over the options with you. I have a cover page, as you can see, but I think it is best for us to look at the color calendar, and I can kind of walk you through from the actual calendar as opposed to the first page, which is a list. But I think it'll make a little more sense if we flip to the color calendar. And I'll just take you through each option, and I'll sort of tell you what's different about each one. So if we take a look at the first one, I've color-coded them, and the first one's option 1. We don't have a whole lot of choice this year because of how Christmas fell, and just for information's sake, we do have to go to school 89 days each semester for high school for the students to have enough minutes to meet the state requirement to earn Carnegie credit. So we always try not to work on Memorial Day, which now, of course, we have a holiday Memorial Day this year, so we don't want people to come after Memorial Day. And Christmas, the way Christmas falls, it really kind of hems in our second semester. So we'll see that as we kind of go through. So if we look at the first option, and this is the same on every option, we have the 4th of July holiday for 12-month employees. And then if you look at Section July, in August is the same on all 4 options. The teachers will come back August 2nd through the 7th, and the paraeducators will come back on the 6th, and we'll do some professional development those 4 days, and students report on August 8th for all 4 options. In all 4 options, of course, we're on September 2nd for Labor Day. In October, this is going to be the same for options 1, 2, and 3. We do have a 2-day fall break on October 7th and 8th. By that time, students and the teachers, everybody's ready for a break in October. We put in a lot of work at that point. All 4 options have the same report card conference night setup that we've gone with over the last several years. That's very conducive for the parents and the teachers who have students in the community, where each level has its own night, and then many of our teachers have students in the schools themselves, so if they're off at a conference night, they can't be in their classroom meeting parents, and that's the whole goal. So we have found that very successful. So we do have that in all the options. In November, Election Day, November 5th, is off in all the options. And Thanksgiving holidays, of course, will be the week of Thanksgiving in all of the options. Christmas holiday, December, you can see here, we didn't really have a good choice of where to start other than December 23rd. We couldn't start on the 20th, and we couldn't start after that. We don't want to start on Christmas Eve. So there really wasn't a whole lot of choice there. So that's sort of the first semester. second semester, option 1. In this option, there is a 2 full week Christmas break. So you see we start on the 23rd, which is a Monday, and the holidays would go all the way through January 3rd to give a full 2-week break. This option is unique to option 1. The teacher professional development day and the student holiday would be on January 6th. So the teachers would come back to a professional development day, and the students would come back to a 4-day week to kind of transition them back to school since they've been out. This one's a nice selection because you have 3 weekends and 2 full weeks that families can go on a vacation. They can prepare for the vacation, go on it, come back, recuperate, and then get ready to come back. So that 2 full weeks is usually favorable to the teachers and the staff. On all the options, of course, we have January 20th, Martin Luther King Jr. Observance Day. February, no holiday on any of the options. And March, for all of the options, we have the whole week of Mardi Gras off in March as all the options. Third 9 weeks ends on the 18th. And then as we move into April, here we have some variety. Easter is not any option we could do that would give us a full week of Easter unless we took days off of Mardi Gras, which isn't, we've tried that before and nobody really wants that, right? So for this option, it would be Holy Friday and the day after Easter off on this option. And then students would end on May 22nd with Teacher Records Day on May 23rd. And you'll see we have Memorial Day on the 26th as a holiday for 12-month employees. And then Juneteenth we have as a 12-month holiday, as y'all had mentioned in one of the prior meetings. So this is option 1. And to look at option 2, again, this can't be a whole lot of variety just because of those constraints I was explaining earlier. But option 2 has the exact same as option 1 for the first semester. That's all the same, July through December. The difference comes in January. So in option 2, you see instead of being the full 2 weeks for teachers, the students would still be off the 2 full weeks, but teachers would come back to a professional development day as well as the bus operators on January 3rd. And then the students would return on the 6th. And the reason for doing that is the difference here, the only difference is that gives 1 more day to add down to Easter. So that would give Thursday and Friday before Easter and the Monday after. So that's the only difference on this calendar from the first one, is to get any more time at Easter, you have to take it from somewhere. And the only places we could have taken it from would have been Mardi Gras, Christmas holiday, and we know we don't want to go past Memorial Day, since we're already off on that day. So that's option 2. Option 3 is just like option 2 with the exception of the days would be, if you look at Easter, everything else is the same as option 2, except if you look at Easter, instead of 2 days before, it's the 2 days after. Some people wanted 2 days before to prepare for their family coming over and then have their family. This option is for people who said, okay, we did everything, now I need 2 days to recuperate and get everything back in order to come back. So that's the only difference in option 2 and 3, if you want time to prepare or if you want time to recuperate and come back. Now option 4 is similar to option 1. The only difference in option 4 to option 1 is if you look at October and November, everything's the same in July, August and September. In October, it's a 1-day fall break on October 7th. That other day in the fall, we move to November 1st to be the day after Halloween. So this option would give, instead of a 2-day fall break back to back, it would give the day after Halloween off and then a 3-day weekend in October as the October break. So it just depends if employees want the 3-day weekend and then want the day after Halloween, or if they want the 4-day fall break. So we'll see how that turns out. And on this option, it is the same as option 1, Holy Friday, and the 1 day after Easter. Unique though to option 4, I will say if you look at January, this is like option 1, it's the 2 solid weeks for Christmas. But in this option, instead of the teacher professional development day being right when they come back, the students would come back on the 6th. And then the teacher PD day would be the 21st after Dr. Martin Luther King Observance Day on the 20th. So it just depends on where people want the break. And again, all the options, of course, have Memorial Day and Juneteenth as holidays for 12-month employees. So we'll see how the vote turns out, and I'll bring you the results. The voting's due back to me on Friday before the holiday, and I'll get them back to you the Tuesday when we come back from the holiday. Once you know how it turns out. And again, I want to thank Ms. Robinson for all the work in helping us get this together.
Thank you, Mrs. Meadow. Do we have any questions from the board? It seems like a lot of options. More options than we've had.
It is, we normally get 3, so, we had some input that we wanted to go for, so we did 4. We try to give whatever options the employees want, so.
The majority will.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, we'll move along to item 3.2, 2022-2023 school performance scores.
Okay, I'll stay up here for that one, that's me too. Okay? And I don't need, yeah, I should keep these on. I put these for the calendar. I'm getting too old for that small calendar. So I'll keep them for this one, just not make any mistakes. Okay, this, of course, yesterday, school performance scores were released, and I gave you sort of a one-page overview. We're still muddling through some of the data. We got quite a bit of data back, but I wanted to get you some results right out of the gate since we just got the release yesterday. So, and before I even say results, I do want to always recognize all of the hard work from the teachers, the parents, the students, and the administration, the support staff, and everyone who puts effort into helping the students grow and helping our district be what it is. So I would be remiss to not start off with that. If you take a look on the far right, I have for you our district school performance score, and as you can see, we grew 1.9 points as a district. The state actually grew 1.4 points, so we grew half a point more than the state. I also gave you some comparison data, so it's a B on both, and some comparison data on the left of what the surrounding parishes are. You'll notice St. Charles has an asterisk because due to Hurricane Ida in 2022, St. Charles and about 4 other districts did not have scores due to the impact of Hurricane Ida. So I also provided for you on the bottom a year-to-year comparison, school by school. I gave you their letter grade and their school performance score, so you can see the improvement. We had majority of our schools did increase in their school performance score, and as I said, the state did grow by 1.4 points, but we grew by 1.9. So we do have majority of our schools increase with their school performance score. And in letter grades, they all stayed the same with the exception of Perry Elementary went up 1 letter and Chalmette High went up a letter. So,
And LaCoste.
sorry, Lacoste, excuse me. Thank you, Ms. Bocek. 3 went up. Good thing I kept my glasses on.
Anybody have any questions from the board? Statements, comments? Mrs. Dysart.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. Ms. Lametta, this accountability score release, it's based on, can you tell us all the factors it's based on?
Sure.
For the public's
Sure, in
benefit?
elementary school, it's the test scores, and then there's a growth component for students. And the state determines growth in 2 ways. They have what they call a growth to mastery component, and the state goal is for students by 8th grade to score mastery, or if they're in middle school in high school to reach mastery by 10th grade. So the state looks at how far the students are from 750 scaled score points and divides that by how many years away they are from 8th or 10th. And that student gets a growth score. So right out of the gate, when test scores come in, if a student met that scaled score, we know it because we know what they needed and we know what they got. The second way they assign growth is they look at factors about students. For example, if I'm an English language learner, if I'm a special education student, if I had high absenteeism, if I have high discipline incidents, they look at a student who's similar to me, and then they line those students up scores and percentile rank the scores. And if students fall in the 4 quartiles, the point level is determined by what quartile you fall in. So if you don't meet your growth score, then they say, okay, how did everybody else in the state do who matches your characteristics? So those are the 2 components for elementary. In middle school, there's also a DCAI component, which is they're actually looking for credits the students attained in 9th grade. They want to make sure in middle school, we're not just passing them on from 8th grade to 9th grade unprepared. So they look at how many credits the students earn as a 9th grader the following year and apply that back to the middle school scores. So that's a credit attainment. High school, we have 50%. I think we kind of talked this a little bit last time. 50% graduation rate, because the ultimate goal of everything we do here is get that diploma and then a way to earn some financial stability in your future. So diploma graduation rate 50%, grad index, which means what do they graduate with? Do they graduate with industry credentials, AP scores? What are they leaving with to be able to do in the workforce? That's another 50%. Then there's ACT scores, then LEAP 2025, and then there's a growth component in it. So high school has a lot of moving parts. But again, the majority is, do they graduate on time? I should say that, graduate on time, because as we talked about last time, they look at what did you enter ninth grade and did you finish in 4 years? Not just graduate. To get full credit, you have to finish in the 4 years. And then they look at how prepared are you for college or for career or for the workforce when you come out. So.
Thank you, Ms. Lametta.
Sure.
And I just want to take this opportunity to commend our administration and principals, our teachers, and our
Yes.
students and parents. You know, testing is gotten more and more, I guess, accountability has increased in its value on at the state level. And it's, I know the students get nervous during
Yes.
testing, the teachers get nervous, you know, of course everyone wants to do better. And it's wonderful that our students' performance scores grew.
Yes.
And that's what we want to continue to do, is to grow and to get better and better. And we had a 1.9 increase, so that's wonderful. So I want to commend them and congratulate them.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, looking at the school, looking at the scores, this looks really good. I'm impressed with Chalmette High School. I'm not on Facebook, don't know how to do it, probably never will. I don't type the internet. And we get bashed on the internet that they got people believing Chalmette High School's a battleground. And when you see these scores, it's not a battleground. A lot of students, the majority of the students are working hard, and you can see the results from this. So these are great scores, and I'm glad they went up.
Yes, yes, thank you. And I would just add that, I know, you know, Parish had put this on her Facebook page one day. There's so much these scores don't measure that you see in a school every day. And there's so much when you walk in a room, in a class, and a teacher is doing everything they can to help a student who's struggling, or a student falls down, and a teacher's there, or a paraeducator's there, or the administration's working with parents, or the counselors, or the school nurses, the social workers, the coaches, the dance sponsors, the cheer sponsors, the sponsors at Anime Club, or Dungeons and Dragons Club, or at Chalmette High, the Board Games Club. Anything a child wants to do, to have a place to go and something to belong, you can find a place, you know, in our school system. And those are the things you don't necessarily see here. Of course, they affect the scores, but they affect the child. And when I see the teachers and administration and counselors and everyone just giving of themselves and the time they could be spending with their own families, that's the part that you don't see here. It is a product of it, but to see it on a daily basis, it's hard not to get emotional talking about it, because our people really give of themselves on a daily basis. They really do.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Mrs. Harris.
Can we get a list of the schools that received the top gains and the opportunities honorees for the board meeting
Sure.
so that we can recognize them?
Sure.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Lametta, so how does this 82.3 relate to pre-pandemic scores?
Pre-pandemic in 2019, I'm not 100% sure. Do you remember, Ms. Oche, 2019? I don't have that offhand.
In our pandemic scores? Can we maybe get like
I
5
do.
years back?
You can take a look at that, yes.
That's the only statement I have.
Yes, because 2020, you know, was COVID, and 2021 was simulated, because you can't get a real score without 2 years of test scores to determine growth. So 2021 was simulated based on prior growth. So there probably wasn't a good score, you know, 2 years before this, so 2021 and 2020.
And one thing which should be interesting to track, and the state should be tracking this, and so should we, to be honest, really those 2 years that our kindergarten, first and second graders were affected by COVID, when they were not face-to-face, in person every day, if they would, you know, maybe some parents chose to go the virtual route or whatever, because they had that choice. To see those kids came out with reading skills and math skills that were not up to par with other students in prior years. So those particular classes, now they're in the middle of their elementary, and it's very, very difficult because we're having to go and backtrack with them on those basic skills. And those, we're trying to look to see how much have they actually been able to pick up and make up for that lost time. It didn't affect the older kids as much, but those younger kids in those early years where you're learning to read and you're learning the skills necessary to do it, those kids were much more severely impacted by this. But and I just can't stop, which I'll talk about a little bit sooner, this obsession with test scores, statewide and nationwide, is absolutely ridiculous. We get to the point where everything that people look at is, what is that number? What is this letter grade? And when you're comparing schools and you're comparing kids, no community is the same. No school is the same. No district is the same. You may have the makeup of your school wildly differs. When they post your top 10 schools in the state, selective admission schools, kids who have higher academic ability to begin with. They don't say that, and you're being compared, those student bodies, the same. And they're not looking at comparing like schools to like schools. And actually, the grading system is absolutely ridiculous, because if you get the mastery, you get 100 points, basic, you get 80. Anything below that, it's 0. Not a lesser amount, but a 0. So think back when you were in school, if you got a 0 on one test, and then you got 100 on the next one, if you were going by numbers, your average was a 50, and you got an F. Now, if you got an F and an A, and you averaged a letter grade, you got a C. Look at that divergence. So when they put all these numbers together, they're giving all of these kids who are scoring at the lower levels a 0. And to make up a 0 is extremely difficult for a school to do. So you have kids who struggle when they take standardized testing. We have many kids with special needs. We have many kids who are, where English is not their first language. And we have many kids, and in the old bell curve, maybe they're in the bottom quartile from an academic perspective. And they're taking the same test, and they're getting 0s that are averaged in. Instead of celebrating what their abilities are and how much they're growing. And then when we get to the high school level, as far as I'm concerned, all of that leap testing we shouldn't even be doing at the 9th and 10th grade level. What we should be doing is taking a 9th grader coming into high school and saying, okay, what makes you a productive citizen? What does the community feel is important? What do we feel making you ready for the real world? We need you to graduate. We need you to earn some credentials. We need you to explore vocational areas. So the indicators should be, I think, very, very different. But we're not in a perfect world, and we're not in my world. So if I had to develop my own formula, it would be totally different. But this obsession with grade, with letter grades and numbers, puts a real damper on things for our kids and our teachers. So some of that love of learning sometimes we lose. And some of the things that we normally would have done to help kids in more of a social and emotional context, teachers are like, oh no, we got to get to this, we have to make sure we do this, and I think the kids lose in the end. But anyway, it is what it is at this point. This is the system under which we operate. And just to let you know, next year, the grading scale is going to raise 5 points. So what is an A this year will not be an A next year, it will be a B. What is a B this year is going to be a C the following year. The kids will do just as well and may even grow, and will get a lesser letter grade, just moving the scale. So like playing football and making a touchdown, instead of 6 points, it's now worth 4. That type of a thing. So we're constantly changing the rules as we go along. And so there's going to be a bit, and then the following year it raises another 5 points. So just wait to see what letter grades are going to look like statewide next year and the following year for kids who make the exact same progress, who grow as much, and who score as high. So it should be very, very interesting.
So we keep moving the goalposts.
They keep moving the goalposts, Mr. Warner, and making the school work less.
Thank you, Ms. Amanda, for making this so reader-friendly and color-coded for, for older eyes, too. So,
Yes.
back to you, Mrs. Dysart.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. Okay, next item, thank you, Mr. Mackey. Next item is personnel changes for November 2023. And with us tonight, we have Ms. Pritchard. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. You should have your changes. It's just one page. Things kind of slow down around this time of the year. I do want to remind anyone out there interested in employment with our district to go to our website, our district website, under Human Resources to apply. We're still looking for bus drivers. We're always looking for bus drivers. We're adding some paras, so we need people who are interested in becoming part of our family. I do want to point out that we have one retirement, Miss Trudy Dixon. She has been at Andrew Jackson as a para-educator since 2012, and she has decided to retire, so we wish her well.
Are there any questions at this time for personnel? Okay, well, on behalf of the board, we want to wish Ms. Dixon a very happy retirement and to tell her thank you for her years of service with us. Thank you. Thank you. All right, thanks. Next item on the agenda is Finance Committee item, Ms. Jackson.
All right, next up we have the 2023-2024 revised general fund and special revenue funds budgets. Welcome back.
Thank you. I didn't go far. Okay, in your package you have proposed revised general fund and special revenue funds budgets. In the memo, we discuss the main changes in the budget is usually mainly a technical revision where we go in and we reappropriate encumbrances at year end and fund balances and add them back into our budget. And also what we've done is we added some other things, made some other changes. The main changes are we added in the effects of the legislative pay supplement that the legislature granted to certified municipal employees, so that has been added into revenues and expenditures respectively, and also the effect of the differentiated pay stipend that the legislature also included. So that is also reflected in the expenditures and the revenues. The only other real change, we adjusted some of the grant monies. We adjusted the MRP to the actual estimate in the original July budget letter. That will probably change once we get the adjustments. And I also had reduced the estimate for sales taxes. Sales taxes, we usually get 2 months after the collection of sales taxes. So far we have 3 months of sales taxes collected, July, August, and September. And we're noticing a decrease, and that is mainly due to the completion of the project at Chandler Refining, which had generated a lot of sales taxes during its construction. And now that that project is over, we're seeing decreased sales taxes. I decreased in the original budget a bit because we knew we would have decreased sales taxes, but looking at the first 3 months, I backed it down in an abundance of caution. We may adjust it further upwards, hopefully, once we get more months of sales tax collections, but we adjusted it downward just out of an abundance of caution. But you'll also notice on the other side, we have an increase in ad valorem taxes. And that's because now that the project is complete, a portion of it will go on to the tax rolls and we'll receive ad valorem taxes for that. So that offsets partially the decrease, or offsets part of the decreases that we're seeing in sales taxes. On the special revenue fund side, it's basically adjusting the grants to the final allocations for this year. The only change to the grants is we added the Stronger Connections grant. We've discussed before that we received the Stronger Connections grant to create single points of entry at Raleigh Alternative and Trust Middle Schools. So we added in that as a special, in the special revenue funds as a grant, and the allocation for that grant as well. But I'd be happy to answer any questions, but that's basically highlights of the revision.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Fernandez? Yes, Mr. Warner.
I just can't help but notice that our utilities and our electricity, just, you know, that number just keeps growing exponentially, you know. And I was just, you know, we're looking at 3.8 million for electricity. And it just, you know, makes me wonder, should we maybe be looking at an option of solar? I know it's not, you know, and this is something I think the board would have to maybe address. But I know we have, you know, some vacant pieces of property, and particularly up in Araby, we have a piece of property up there that, you know, maybe we could use that as a solar field. Just look at the option, explore that option, and see if there is a viability there for us to look at a solar project to possibly save on our utility bill.
And I have to mention on the utilities, electricity especially, as you recall, we did go through a revamping of our systems, and we don't have, we've just recently completed all of the schools. So we really don't have enough experience in months under the new system to reduce. But we're also hoping to see a reduction going forward. Once we have more months operating under the new system, we may be able to reduce that expense later in our budget revision in the spring. But we are going to be tracking that. But
I would just like to, you know, maybe get a proposal from someone, from somebody to look at, you know, the possibility of using that site in Araby as sort of a field to put some solar panels out there. I know they have companies that will do that. Will give you an estimate on what it would cost and what kind of yield you would get from that, just to see if there's any, you know, if it's viable.
We also have Sebastian Roy we didn't sell yet.
Yeah, we do have Sebastian
I don't know
Roy.
about hurricanes,
The only issue with that one would be, in my opinion, would be the cost of flood insurance for the structures. But that's also an option. All options are on the table.
You put that as a form of motion?
Why don't you just let us
Yeah,
explore it?
yeah, let the administration explore the option and see if it's worth pursuing or worth just getting a proposal.
And just out of curiosity, do you know any other entities that have been doing that anywhere in our state that we could contact? Because
I know it's becoming more and more
I know I've been hearing in the news.
prevalent that, you know, companies and I don't know, maybe there's some colleges that are doing it. I don't know. But,
Okay.
I know there's companies that'll do it for you though, and write you out an estimate, look at your square footage of the property and what kind of panels you could put out there and what kind of yield you could anticipate receiving, back feeding the system and getting credit with energy on.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Do we need a motion to send it to the full board?
We did.
I'll make a motion to send it to the full board.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr.
I'll
Moore.
second it. I was just gonna make.
Did you
the
have
motion.
another?
No, I was just gonna make the motion, that's all.
All right, we have a second by Mr. Warner. Any further discussion, questions? All right, all in favor? Everyone please cast your vote.
Motion passes 9-0.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jackson. Next item on the agenda are the superintendent's notes. Ms. Bocek.
Okay, we will, as usual, have a special meeting in December for the superintendent's evaluation. It's in your folder, and you have some directions there as far as working with Angie on those documents. Also, I think everybody, we were really pleased this morning. We had our day of reflection breakfast. It went extremely well. I got many compliments. I don't know if y'all heard as well from many of the people in the community. And as usual, our kids were the stars of the breakfast, and it's always so good to see them perform and see them serve and see them in so many different venues. So we were really pleased with that. Our football team won their playoff game. They won the district, and they won last Friday night, won the first round of the playoffs, and they'll be playing again this Friday night in round number 2 of the playoffs. They have to travel to Dutchtown, which is a pretty powerful team. The Friday is our last day of school prior to the Thanksgiving holidays. So students will be off. We have a lot going on this Friday with Fall Fest at many of the elementary schools and a lot of activities as well. I just want to mention, and then tomorrow night, Shelmet High School has their school expo where we've invited all of middle school age students and beyond to come to the schools, see what's available. It's usually extremely well attended. We're hoping to see that. I saw a video last night that they put together that I do want them to come and show to our board, maybe at the next board meeting. It's a 9.5-minute video, but it's actually students talking and about the opportunities at the school. And if the public could see how much the kids value what they have there and the opportunities that they have there. It's extremely well done. It's all student-made and student-led. So it's a great video that I didn't want to prematurely show because they're going to be doing it at their expo tomorrow night. So it's from 4:30 to 7:30 for any middle school age children in the parish who are thinking of attending Shelmet High School and want to learn a little bit more about it and what's available there too. And I just want to make a note. We have AEDs in all of our schools, and this week, one of our nurses, Tiffany Bryan, over at Andrew Jackson, we had a substitute teacher that, thank God it was not in front of the students. He was during that planning time, not feeling well, and had a seizure. He coded at the school. So the nurse Tiffany Bryan, we immediately got the AED. She shocked it, got the heart back in rhythm, got a pulse prior to the EMTs arriving. And he was then taken, directly to the hospital. So had we not had that there, don't know what would have happened. So I'd really like to publicly thank her, thank all of our nurses, thank this board for making sure that we have these AEDs in all of our schools and that we're updating that equipment. And it saved a life the other day. So she was, according to Mr. Lars, who's the principal, the nurse was very calm and professional under pressure. Absolutely saved that man's life. And I want to thank her, thank all of our nurses, and we also have other people at each of our school sites trained as well in the usage of the AEDs. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rocha. Also, Friday is, Dr. Andrews is coming to visit our school.
Oh, okay.
You want to explain that, Ms.
Yeah,
Rocha?
I think we talked a little bit about it last time when Oxner was here to talk about the partnership we have with them in our sports management program. And they have formed a partnership with Dr. James Andrews. He's the renowned orthopedic surgeon who's known for the Tommy John surgery. He operates or has operated on many professional athletes, including Drew Brees. And he is retired now from actually being a surgeon, but he still does consultations as well. And he has partnered with Oxner. In fact, if you've seen some of the commercials on television, it's now the Oxner Dr. James Andrew Orthopedic Wing. So he is coming into town this week, and they have chosen Chalmette High School to be the school that he visits. He will be at the high school Friday morning talking with all of the student athletes and the coaches in terms of sports injuries, how do you manage your body, your time, and also potential careers in that particular field. And then after that, we're going to have a luncheon for him at the MoMA Center Friday. So it'll be a day. We're very fortunate to have him. And then our kids we're doing a little background, I guess a little education with our students as to who he is, because he's a person, I guess, of my generation. When you said his name, anybody in the sports field immediately knew who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And those who follow sports regularly know who he is. And we're very fortunate that he is going to come and speak directly with our students on Friday.
Thank you, Ms. Fojack. And I just want to, on behalf of the entire board, thank everyone who was responsible for the reflection breakfast. It was every year. It's so uplifting, and it's wonderful to see the students actually run the breakfast. You know, from the two students from Chalmette High School who moderated it, to the videos, to just everything about it was wonderful. It was a day of uplifting and knowing just how wonderful our students and our teachers and administration are. And so I want to thank everyone who took part in the video making, the men from Penn, you know, Mr. Kassar and his team, and the two Kassars who run the course was beautiful. Everything about it was beautiful. And the videos of the students were the best. You know, to have them make the videos, it was just, again, so uplifting and wonderful. And we're very blessed to have such a great team who make it look easy, but offer so many opportunities for our students. So thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, is there a meeting to adjourn?
We adjourn.
There's a motion by Mr. Campbell, seconded by Ms. Harris. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? The meeting's now adjourned. Thank you, and good night, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody.